How Enzo Maresca will line Chelsea up. I'm Statman Dave, and today we're going to be diving into Chelsea's new manager, what formations he'll use, what transfers he should bring in, and will he be a success? Get into the comments below. Do you think Enzo Maresca will be a success at Chelsea? Of course, subscribe if you are new around here. Like the video, but anyway, let's get this party started. Before we dive into the tactics, who is Enzo Maresca? A former professional footballer, Enzo Maresca was described by his coaches as a very complete midfielder, enjoying a career at the likes of Juventus, Olympiacos and Sevilla. After retiring, Maresca took an assistant coaching job at Ascoli in Italy's second tier. He spent 3 years at Ascoli before moving to Manchester City and taking over as the manager of their elite development squad in 2020. After winning the Premier League 2 in his first season, Parma approached Maresca to take them back to Serie A, but he lasted just 14 games, leaving Parma in 14th in the 21-22 Serie B season. In June 2022, Maresca returned to Manchester City as Pep Guardiola's assistant coach. The following June, Maresca was approached by newly relegated Leicester City to be their manager. The Italian made an immediate impact, guiding the Foxes into a 10-point lead at the top of the championship by January the 1st, collecting 3 individual Manager of the Month awards. Despite an impressive start, Maresca's been criticised for being too dogmatic, sticking to his tactics even though teams had started to work out Leicester City. In the first 31 games of the season, Leicester just lost 4 times and picked up 2.42 points per game. In the final 15 games of the season, they lost 7 times and the points per game dropped to 1.46. Despite this, Maresca got Leicester City over the line and won the league with 97 points, one more than Kieran McKenna's Ipswich Town. So what do Enzo Maresca's tactics actually look like? A disciple of Pep Guardiola and positional play, Maresca favours a 4-3-3 formation. In possession, his teams build out from the back, heavily involving their goalkeeper in their own third, often creating a 4-2-4-1 system. Ball progression comes from positional rotation, freeing a player to receive in space, or they use short passing combinations to play through pressure. Alternatively, if the opposition are pressing high, Maresca's goalkeeper or centre-back will play long to bypass the pressure. In the middle and final thirds, Maresca's teams transition to a 3-2-2-3. This creates a U in midfield with an inverted wingback and defensive midfielder creating a double pivot, whilst the free eights advance. Chances are largely created through the wide areas. Maresca likes to use triangles in these zones and sees fluid rotations, often with the players in the inside channels, making runs in behind. Alternatively, Maresca's system creates 1v1s for his wingers. These positions require good dribblers who can either create for teammates or get shots off themselves. As the team with the most expected goals and the top scorers in the championship last season, it's safe to say Enzo Maresca's tactics get the best out of talented players. Enzo Maresca will line Chelsea up in a 4-3-3 that we saw with Leicester City in the Championship, including an inverted right wing back, a number 6 that's going to be very much a ball player versus a destructive option, 2 free eights, they're going to attack the inside channels, 2 wingers that will hold the width in the final third, a striker that not only will provide threats into the channel but also be an option into feet, and a fullback on the left hand side that will tuck in and invert as a fullback to create a back 3 in possession. Chelsea have got a number of positions that we could see a number of different players playing the role. I think number 6 is an interesting one. Will it be Enzo Fernandez? Will it be Caicedo? Or even Lavia, who should be back from injury? And at right back, Malo Gusto, will he continue there? Or Reece James come in and play as an inverted player? I think in terms of midfield as well, there are a few questions there. And number 9, do Chelsea continue with Nicholas Jackson, or do they go into the market and sign a world-class centre forward? Get into the comments below all the answers to those questions. Right back, defensive midfield, central midfield, and of course, number 9. Anyway, it's time to dive into the team. So let's start in goal. Enzo Maresca requires a ball-playing goalkeeper. As we mentioned, the shape of the team moves in possession. You've got a fullback that moves inside, you've got 2 eights that move to create a U in midfield, and a back 3 is created by the left back, the left centre-back, and the right centre-back. At times, what you saw with Leicester City and what we'll see with Chelsea is actually the goalkeeper playing and moving into a midfield zone. Not only does this overload the opposition, but it allows the keeper to get involved in the possession and then be the long option if need be. Go into the number 9 to go over the press, then Chelsea can counter press to win that second ball. A ball-playing goalkeeper is an absolute must. For Chelsea, of course, there's 2 goalkeepers in the ranks at the moment, Robert Sanchez and, of course, Petrovic. In terms of those 2 players, when we look at the statistics, both of them don't come out great if we're really honest. In terms of from a goalkeeping perspective, Sanchez has got a better save percentage and also better post-shot expected goals numbers, with Petrovic conceding 6 more goals than he should have done in the Premier League last season. But also in terms of other things that you want from your sweeper keeper, that ability to, come off the line and sweep those loose balls in behind the defence, but also to move into a possession position and distribute. Sanchez once again comes on top on sweeper keeper actions and pass completion rate, but also we're looking at those long passes, which is something that Maresca's sides do. The keeper will play long to a number of different areas if getting pressed. Again, Sanchez comes up over 10% better in terms of long pass accuracy. But in terms of what I would say for Chelsea with Enzo Maresca as manager, going into the market and signing a world-class goalkeeper is a place that Chelsea need to put some money into. In terms of a goalkeeper that would instantly upgrade Chelsea, improve them defensively, improve them with the gloves, but also the ball at his feet, is Mike Mignon. The AC Milan goalkeeper has been linked with Chelsea in the past, and not only does he combine all the things that Enzo Maresca would want in a goalkeeper, he is one hell of a shot stopper. Made some massive saves in the Champions League last season for AC Milan, and again this season in Serie A. A player that would upgrade Chelsea would cost quite a lot of money, but I think Chelsea need to buy maybe a few players for kind of the big prices versus signing a number of, young talents coming in. I think improving that first team now with a goalkeeper would really improve Chelsea going forward. Right, so let's move on to the fullbacks, the right and the left back for Chelsea this season. Enzo Maresca, as we previously spoke about, uses an inverted wing back at right back and an inverted fullback at left back. That left back really needs to be a controlling player, physically good in the transition, but also fantastic when playing in that first line, in that build-up phase, playing the passes into, the midfielders, into the winger and so forth. That's a really key role for the left back. Chelsea have got a few players that could play that role, but I think one is the standout. In terms of the right back, they need to be comfortable in receiving with the back to goal, receiving on the half turn, and then looking to play forward and linking, but also be a bit of an option for an underlap if necessary. We know that Reece James has real quality in these areas. So let's start with that right back, and which player do I think will be best suited to Enzo Maresca's Chelsea? I've been really impressed with Malo Gusto. Malo Gusto is a player that I really like. He's a player that's kind of evolved this season as well. Playing as a right back on the overlap, getting into the final third. In terms of his statistics in the Premier League, he registered 6 assists, one more than he managed in the entirety of his 3 league campaigns at Lyon combined. But I think the big thing with Malo Gusto at the moment, he reminds me a lot of Kyle Walker when he was coming through at Tottenham, a player that would overlap the wide player and get into the final third and get crosses in. That being said, of course, we know the evolution of Kyle Walker, a technically gifted player with supreme pace that's been used by Pep Guardiola in central midfield as an inverted fullback, but also as a centre-back at times. Malo Gusto could be a really good option for Chelsea playing inside. But also looking at that role, if we compare Ricardo Pereira's heat map in the 22-23 season with the 23-24 season, we can really see that Enzo Maresca uses that right back in an inside position, almost as a second midfielder. And we're talking about fullbacks that have the technical quality and tactical discipline to play inside. Reece James would probably number 1 in the Premier League, along with Trent Alexander-Arnold, perfect for that inverted role. In terms of Reece James, what he has over Malo Gusto right now is that range of passing, that ability to dictate the play, the ability to play the right pass at the right time, be it a long switch, be it across the floor, be it a short pass, but all linking with his teammates in and around him. Reece James will be perfect for this role to join the double pivot for Enzo Maresca. But that being said, of course, Malo Gusto has his qualities and I think will evolve under Enzo Maresca and be a very good backup. Again, Reece James' injuries have really hurt him over the last few seasons. So having someone of Malo Gusto's quality that can instantly come in could be a really good option. And again, could be used as a left back at times, I reckon. Put him onto the other side, more of that fullback position, getting on the ball. But let's move on to the left back area. I think, again, Chelsea have got a number of options. Levi Colwill is a player that I really like. Not only has got that physicality, but is really good on the ball, has that pace patience in those areas. The simple option as well would be Ben Chilwell playing in kind of an inverted position. I think the thing with Ben Chilwell, he would have to learn under Enzo Maresca to play the role that he wants to play, instead of Ben Chilwell providing that threat on the back line, which I think he's one of the best in the Premier League at doing. You know, being the kind of last line player that's going to spin in behind the opposition's defence. How many times have we seen him do that from the wing-back position for Chelsea, being that last line option? But the role under Enzo Maresca is going to be different. It's going to be deeper. It's going to be more of a ball-playing option. Again, Ben Chilwell could very much do that, which could potentially, you push Levi Colwill into the left centre-back position. We know how good he is on the ball. He would be that, central deep player, getting on the ball and distributing. But I do quite like the idea of Levi Colwill being there, transitionally very, very dominant as well. Levi Colwill was one of the best defenders in the Premier League for tackling dribblers last season, so could be a cracking option for Enzo Maresca in that role, or Ben Chilwell. In terms of Cucurella, again, he played that position for Brighton, but do I think he's the right man for Chelsea going forward? No, I'd rather stick with Ben Chilwell and Levi Colwill in that position. So let's move on to centre-backs. Enzo Maresca requires two ball-playing centre-backs. One that moves into a right-back position in possession that's quite progressive, and one to retain possession and be the guy that's going to distribute the ball and retain it in those back areas. In terms of that kind of left-sided centre-back, that was Vestergaard in the Championship. He completed more passes than any other player in the division under Maresca, whereas Wout Faes played as the right-sided centre-back in that back three, and he completed more progressive passes than any other centre-back. So you need one player to retain possession as that kind of left centre-back, and a right centre-back that's a little bit more progressive. Here's another area where I think Chelsea potentially need to go into the market. At the moment, you're looking at maybe Disasi to play as that right-sided centre-back, and Badiashile to play as the left-sided centre-back. They're the only centre-backs that are fit at the moment. Of course, Levi Colwill could play left centre-back if you're going to put Ben Chilwell at left-back, which could be a really good option. But looking into the market is probably another area that Chelsea need to address. Or maybe Fofana comes back. Wesley Fofana has the potential to be a real top-quality centre-back in the Premier League, but injuries have been a big problem. So at the moment for Chelsea, we're probably likely to see Disasi and Badiashile play those two roles, but that's again an area where they could look into the market and recruit in centre-back. Thiago Silva is going to be a massive miss for Chelsea. He's been brilliant since signing for PSG, won the Champions League, led the defensive line superbly, and they're going to have to look into the market maybe to get a leader that can drop in and play one of these roles. So we've spoken about defence, let's move into midfield. The number 6 position is vitally important for Enzo Maresca's sides. They operate as almost a regista, a player that's going to get on the ball and going to distribute it around. He's going to be the player that's going to be bouncing it, that's going to be turning at the right time and playing forward. He is the hub of the team. Think Jorginho under Maurizio Sarri. So when looking at the profile of the player, of course, Harry Winks played for Leicester City under Enzo Maresca in the Championship. Not only did he finish the season with a 93% pass accuracy, but he completed more passes into the final third than any other player in the Championship. So when looking at that role, it's got to be a bit of a ball player, a player that's going to control the tempo, that's going to move the ball on. Chelsea have got a number of options for this role, which is quite exciting to see where Maresca goes. Does he go with a Caicedo that can play that dual role of being a ball player but also being very destructive? Does he go with someone like an Enzo Fernandez to have that pure Harry Winks type player? Or do we see someone like Lavia coming back from injury and operating as that number 6? All options for Enzo Maresca. When looking at those players, of course, I think Caicedo finished the season reasonably well. It took him a bit of time to get kind of used to life at Chelsea, but I think he finished it in really good form with a number of assists and some goals. So looking at the second option that Enzo Maresca has, it's Enzo Fernandez, who didn't quite fit into Pochettino's style of play. When we look at the best football that Enzo Fernandez played, you'd say it was either at Benfica or for Argentina at the World Cup. At the World Cup, Enzo played as either a number 6 in a 3-5-2, sitting in front of 3 centre-backs and controlling the tempo, or alternatively playing as more of a number 8, but again getting on the ball in the deeper areas. Similar to Benfica, he played next to a real holding midfielder in Florentino Luis, but it was his job to get the ball off the centre-backs and play forward. So when looking at this setup under Enzo Maresca for Chelsea, Fernandes could do a really good job in central midfield. But Enzo Fernandez needs to step up for Chelsea. He's arguably underperformed so far. When you're looking at his net goal difference over the 2 seasons, he's on a minus, and he's also underperformed his XG. But if we go back to the Benfica days, he was ranked in the top 1% of midfielders in Europe's top 5 leagues for all the statistics you want a central midfielder to do. Progressive passes, short passes, touches, passes completed, and so forth. That's something that Enzo Maresca's side will do. They want a hub of the team, and it could be Fernandes in that number 6 position. I think what that actually means for Caicedo is maybe he operates more as the Wilfred Ndidi of the side. Ndidi in the Premier League under Brendan Rodgers very much was playing as a ball-winning midfielder, but under Maresca, he was used as more of a box-to-box midfielder. That's something that Caicedo has done before for Graham Potter at Brighton, playing more as an offensive box-to-box guy versus a holding midfielder. So I think in that 6th position, Lavia could be the backup option, but Enzo Fernandez for Enzo Maresca is going to distribute the play and sit a little bit deeper, allowing Chelsea to build with 2 dominant ball players. There's been some criticism of Enzo Maresca's style. Is it too boring? But it's very much like Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. Super ball dominant, create a lot of chances, score a lot of goals. The one thing that you'd expect from Enzo in that position is to make things happen, dictate the play, pull the strings in midfield, make things happen that we haven't quite seen at Chelsea so far. So we're going to put Fernandes into defensive midfield. And here's where we've got another question. Where do these 2 players play? So we've got Conor Gallagher, potentially operating as the number 8. And Cole Palmer, Chelsea's player of the season last season, 33 goal involvements, 22 goals, 11 assists. For me, you get the best Palmer when he's playing as a playmaker, when he's operating in the inside channels, either starting from the wide area and drifting inside to number 10, or starting at number 10 and then drifting around to get on the ball. When you look at what Enzo Maresca did with his midfield at Leicester City, Keenan Drewsbury Hall was the key guy. He was directly involved in more goals than any other Leicester City player. And he played this kind of number 10 role. Again, aggressive from a defensive position, creating a 4-4-2 defensive structure and pressing high. But when Leicester City had won the ball, he'd drop off the line and get into little pockets of space and then play forward, create, combine with his teammates. That's exactly what you expect with Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer's that type of player that you just want to get the ball to. You want to get the ball to him in the final third, allow him to bounce off players, play 1-2s, combine with the number 9, dribble at certain times, get shots away, play creative passes for runners from the other side. Palmer truly can be the hub for Chelsea under Enzo Maresca. So I feel playing him that central area with Enzo Fernandez could be a really good role for the England international. Palmer, one of the best players in the league last season, if not the best. So talking about that other number 8, is it going to be someone like a Caicedo that's going to be a box-to-box option, or Conor Gallagher? I love Conor Gallagher's work rate. I love his ability to squeeze. I love his ability to defend and transition aggressively. Maybe not the most gifted technical player, but a real box threat and box crasher. And that's how Enzo Maresca likes his central midfielders to play when they're playing in the deep area. Of course, they'll drop deep in a defensive sense to kind of get on the ball in those deep zones, but they'll provide a threat in the final third, especially on the underlap. And when we go back to kind of, Conor Gallagher's best days in the Premier League, his best top scoring season was at Crystal Palace. And he basically played this kind of role as a central midfielder, but an attacking central midfielder that would get there, which would suit Enzo Maresca's midfield. You got Palmer's playmaking and creativity. You got Fernandes sitting deep and controlling the play. And then you got Gallagher really crashing the box and scoring goals. But again, I think that's a role that Caicedo could do as well. Maybe not as good in terms of goal scoring, but defensively a bit more aggressive, but also could drop to receive possession at certain times. Again, that's something that happens in Enzo Maresca's side. As you mentioned, the kind of U-shape that's created in midfield when we're looking at the 8s and the 6s combining, that shape's very, very fluid. The players dropping off and getting on the ball, something that Caicedo and Gallagher could do. But for argument's sake, right now, we're going to keep Caicedo as that number 8 playing the Ndidi role. Caicedo as well could be used in the right-back position. We've seen Enzo Maresca use central midfielders at right-back, moving inside to get into that natural position. Caicedo did it really well in the Premier League against Manchester United and Arsenal, winning 7 of his 9 tackles against Marcus Rashford and Gabriel Martinelli. So there is potential for Caicedo to play at right back if Malo Gusto or Reece James aren't fit. But let's move into that attacking line, the attacking unit, because this is where it gets quite exciting for Chelsea. In terms of the players that I feel will really excel in this style of play, I think you look at first Madueke as a player that would really be dominant on the right-hand side. He's a natural winger. He's naturally going to hold the wide area, then cut in onto his left foot and get shots away or create for his teammates. That's something that Nordin Madueke has done for Chelsea. Other players that could obviously operate out there, Cole Palmer could also play as an inverted winger out there, but I think you'd prefer him in that central area to get on the ball. On the other flank, a combination of, a Sterling out in that wide area, or even an Nkunku. Nkunku's a player that I think has great potential to be a top player in the Premier League, just needs to get himself fit. I think from the left-hand side, he'd play more of his creative role. His best seasons for Leipzig have either come as a number 10 behind two strikers in a 3-4-1-2 shape, or on the left wing in a 4-2-2-2, or alternatively as a striker, as a number 9 in those middle areas. Nkunku could do a role in each of those positions. I think from the left-hand side, he'd probably be more of a natural creative player that's looking to, create for the number 9 or create for the other blindside winger or get crosses to the back post for Palmer to attack that channel. And Nkunku would be a really good option out there for a creative option. If you want a goal scoring Christopher Nkunku or a link player, you're playing him as that number 9. Again, you'd probably see him more as a false 9 than a traditional line, coming off the line to overload the opposition's midfield. Not a bad option to happen. Sterling could hold the width and the depth of the side from the left wing. But in terms of where I'd probably see Chelsea go, I think Nkunku on the left-hand side makes quite a lot of sense. He's a player that has the creativity, has the vision, can score goals, really provides a real completeness on that left-hand side. One of the other key things in the final third for Maresca's sides is those central midfielders, finding the wingers from out to in with the through ball. Again, Nkunku has the quality in the box to finish off those moves. I think we're going to stick with Madueke on the right wing as well. Palmer could be an option out there, but we're going to go for Madueke. Now, on to number 9. This is a position that is a bit of a talking point for Chelsea. Nicholas Jackson ended up having a really underrated season. First season in the Premier League, 14 goals, 5 assists. He looked really good in certain games. Was a little bit inconsistent at the start of the season, but was getting into good areas. He was just massively underperforming his XG. He wasn't taking his chances in the penalty area. I think for Chelsea, for them to truly become elite side, though, you're probably going to maybe go back into the market and buy another striker that can compete with him in that area. And one player on the market really stands out, and that is, of course, Victor Osimhen. Osimhen's a player that Chelsea apparently have been following for a number of years now. 15 goals in Serie A last season, but it was a season that he missed the majority of it with injury and also fell out with the board. What Victor Osimhen would give this Chelsea team is a true target man, a player that they can find into the channels, into feet, into the box, a player that runs the channels supremely well, but is a threat. In the penalty area, he's a player that loves crosses coming into the box. He's very, very good with his head. When you're looking at Madueke, you're looking at Nkunku, but also Palmer's crossing, Victor Osimhen would be the perfect option for that middle area, allowing Enzo Maresca to really build a dominant side that's going to score a lot of goals. His last full season broke records in Serie A for Napoli, and Victor Osimhen would give Chelsea a striker of the ilk of Didier Drogba or Diogo Costa, a player that they can really rely on in the final third. Of course, stylistically, those three players are very different, but what I mean there is a proper goal scorer that's going to score you 20, 30 goals in a league season. And given what Enzo Maresca wants to create with the ball domination, Chelsea are going to need a centre-forward that can put the ball into the back of the net. But anyway, guys, get into the comments below. Will Enzo Maresca be a success at Chelsea? I've been Statman Dave. Subscribe if you're new. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel?